we are starting off. I have a stat for you that might surprise you. So we're looking at divorce, trying to understand some things about divorce, and that. Okay, so this is a stat that I found that nearly 70% of divorces are initiated by women. Yeah. So
I did
not
not know
because
that.
and not because men get divorced less, but because women are more often the ones who decide it's time to leave. So the question is why? So that's why today we want to kind of try to unpack a bit, like the red flags that men overlook and patterns that push relationships to like breaking points because they're definitely there.
And I think, there are red flags. There are big red flags that nobody talks about
Mhm.
that we can share them here because we're not directing at anybody and maybe they can be heard when it's not directly going to your face. When someone says like I know one of the it's not data driven, I can't remember, but where I heard it, which is terrible. Bad, bad, bad.
Because
Academic
heaven forbid you be a human and
therapist
not remember
and just
where
say what I
everything you
think.
heard.
Yeah. But just that, like, when a woman decides she's done, she's done. It's done. And I think that it's called the woman factor, and they're done.
Eh,
That's why when in domestic violence cases, um, they will take their children and walk out the door without clothes, without shoes, without they're wearing clothes, but no bag. It's when they're done, and they're not coming back, you
Well,
know?
because they're making that decisions way earlier on, and the man may not realize that this is happening because women don't just leave. They are thinking this through. They are planning this out. They are assessing and trying and assessing and trying and getting fed up. And there comes a point, like all of it, there comes a point where a decision is like, I can't do it anymore. And so that's why we want to talk about it because there's big flags and little flags that are happening during that whole process
Totally.
that men are in denial about that they don't see, they don't want to see. And you need to see it, men, because
You need to
these
see it, and
relationships could be saved.
yeah, and I don't know what the breakthrough is. I've said it before. I don't know what the denial is or why that's there. I
Mm.
my personal theory is that I think we raise men to think about themselves and to think about being external, like out in the world,
Mhm.
fighting their way through life and accomplishing. And that's the focus. It really is. You have to have a job and you have to make money and you have to be the provider and all that stuff. And that's changing, right? We know those
Yeah.
stats are changing where it's two household incomes or
Mhm.
some. I know I have a whole group of friends where like six of them, the men stay home, which is fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just this general sense of, girls have dolls and we're trained to take care of things, and men have guns and trucks and they're trained to go out and
In the
and
world. Yeah.
and the world.
And they don't
Um,
balance quite like they're so external you're talking about that they're not trained to actually like relationally be checking
yeah,
in.
and not your kids, not your son and not my sons. I know I literally have stopped with my boys, and I know now that I've been talking about this, other men have said to me, "My mom did that." So I feel like there is some breakthrough on it, but I'll stop. My kids will bump into people in public, and I'm like, "Wait a
Yeah,
minute."
which I know.
I'll ask the name and I'll say, "Hey,
Yeah.
what's your name?" "Mary." "Mary, this is Mary. You just stepped on her. That's her foot. What do you wanna say?" "I'm sorry, Mary." Good job, let's move on." That's it. Like, just n be aware of other people, your
Yeah.
surroundings. What are sometimes I'll, like, say to the kids and my husband, like, "Wait a minute, guys. Am I hungry? Am I tired? Is mom hungry? Is she tired? Does she look
But
stressed?
do
Look
you
at my
think do
face."
you do you think though I mean, I think, yes, it's a lack of awareness, but it's also an avoidance. Like, I don't know that I think men come home and they don't wanna deal with it. I think when I t and I know I feel like I'm not just saying this, but, like, as I've been talking to men and, we did that episode, and they're saying they kinda, like, don't want drama, they wanna come home and it be safe,
Yes.
and it's like they don't they've been fighting the world and they come home and they don't want to have to deal with another thing.
Yeah,
And it's hard because we're doing the same thing now.
in
Like
a different
we
way.
as women are
Mhm.
out in the world fighting everything, and then we come home and we don't get to turn off. We now making dinner, taking care of the kids, and taking care of you, and so it's like we don't
Yep,
that's what's hard is that there's an unevenness here that there needs to be some
you're right.
awareness
You're
that
right.
says, "Okay, men, I understand, and I would like that too, but I don't get that privilege either." And we have to continue to, like, be aware of each other, right? That maybe this isn't just work stress that she's bringing home. Maybe it's stress at home is why she's so irritable. So,
Yeah,
check in.
or I think checking in. I think and also too, like, it depends. You gotta know your partner. For me, flowers go a long way. Like, if my husband brings flowers home, he gets, like, an extra 6 months of happy life. Like, seriously, it's very, very easy. For
Mhm.
me, it's words of encouragement, positive affirmations. If somebody I have voicemails from when I found out I was pregnant. I have voicemails from my first Mother's Day, and it's people that called me and said, "Oh my god, you're gonna be a
Mhm.
mom," or, "Oh my god, happy Mother's Day to the best mother ever." I'm not the best mother ever. I'm not. I'm not. But I don't care even if it's a lie, I wanna hear it. I wanna hear positive things. I do. That's what keeps me going,
So,
right?
understanding
That's
what your partner
so that's
needs.
me, right. Knowing your partner, understanding what your partner needs, and giving it to your partner. 'Cause
Yeah.
sometimes we understand what our partner needs, and we have resentment, and we hold it back, and we won't give them what we know they need.
And then you're like roommates just living together. And the romantic the things that you used to do before, like bringing flowers home or grabbing her and kissing her in the kitchen, stop. Those things stop and it becomes like, I did work and you did this and and it's like, what
The
happened to
romance.
the little fire, the little playfulness, the whatever?
What
It goes a
happened to
long
the
way.
what happened to the relationship? The relationship. We have relationships with hundreds of people, right?
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
um, I would never treat my friends the way
Right.
sometimes I treat my partner. I would never
Yes.
ask Lisa to change 80% of who she is to be a different person so that I could be friends with her, but I'll do that to my
Mhm.
partner. I'll say, "Don't
Mm.
do this, be more flexible, do that, and do it with your while you're winking with one arm in the air." Like, I have that expectation, and I think it's just natural that we do that with our partners, but, so that's why I think it is
Mhm.
a switch where you have to look at the positive in your partner, and then sometimes I do this exercise where I recommend this to clients is I look at my partner and I remember the first time I saw him
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
I go, Same guy, same guy." It's like we have to
I just didn't
discipline
know
our
all
mind.
those things that I
I
know
didn't
now.
know all the things, but do they really matter when you
Yes.
really
I'm just kidding.
they all
Some of
matter.
them do. So, and I think in the beginning, it's like a little tiny red flag, and then
Yeah.
that flag gets bigger, I think, sometimes
Then
in
it's like from the
relationships,
Olympics where it's like the big flag that they're
and you're like,
going,
"Okay, that
"Mm,
actually really bothers me that you do that." Like, that's just like,
okay, but you
and
don't know until you're married or until you have kids. Like, you don't know what your partner's gonna be like as a parent when
no,
they've never been a parent.
you've never been a parent? Mhm.
But when the kids were like, uh, little, I waited and I was like, it's like 1 month, 2 months, and my husband is very supportive. I mean, he did a lot of things that are very supportive, and had I, like, passed the ball, he would have taken it. He would've, but I'm, like, greedy and I never pass the ball. I'm like, "Kobe Bryant, come and get the fricking ball from me. If you're good enough to get this ball away from me, you can have the ball, but I'm holding the ball," right? So I'd never pass the ball. But when I did pass the ball, like, he would take it. But I remember doing this whole mind game where I'm sitting there watching and I'm like, "You're not gonna, like, spontaneously help me. You'll just let me do it all. And building a resentment
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
that, like,
Mhm.
was that fair? I don't know, but I did it. So do we do that? Do we, like, are we
Well, I
not
think
willing to
yeah,
stretch?
well, I
I don't
think
know.
that's like a breakdown in communication right there, like, that's, one of the big things, uh, in relationships starting to falter is we just get exasperated. I'm not even gonna communicate this anymore. I've said it a million times, right? Well, what if you
So
say
red
it differently or directly instead of being passive aggressive? Would that change it? What if we sit, if you moved about it in a different way? But I do think we create narratives in our head,
so
for sure.
red flag is probably like red flags for women that women do. I think if she stops arguing with you and she's like quietly super calm, it's probably a red flag. She's she's giving up.
Yeah, resigning herself that you're
Yeah,
never going to
I
change.
think that's a red flag. Yeah.
And let's talk about intimacy too, because that's another thing, because that does not happen for women like it does for men. Typically, I'm generalizing, of course, but like if that connection's not happening, if you're not helping, supporting, she's not going to want to do it. She's not going to be into it. So if you're having a sexless marriage, you know, that's an issue. That's an issue. There needs to be discussion about it. Like, are we having like sexual dysfunction? Is that part of this problem? Is that part of the season of life?
Such a
Is
hard
it
conversation.
stress work? Is it a lack of emotional connection? What's happening? But it's just like we talked about this general avoidance, I think that we can do. I think typically men will do, and I am generalizing. Please put it in the comments if you're mad at me about that. But it does feel like women tend to want to talk about relationship. They want to talk about the relationship, and men don't really see the need to talk about the relationship. And so then
Yeah.
issues kind of don't, there's not a space for it, or the women feel like they're always the one bringing it up, and then we're the nags. But it's like, but there's a problem, and you don't wanna see
Yeah.
the problem, you don't wanna address the problem, and so then it's never gonna change, and then I'm gonna silently hold, get more and more upset with you, and then what's gonna happen? They're gonna leave, so the avoidance isn't working, guys. It's not. 70%. 70%. That's a huge statistic to
That's a
pay
huge
attention to.
number. That's a huge number.
Mhm. I mean, that's them kind of saying, they're fed up, and so I do wanna talk about the emotional growing kind of emotionally distant. I think that's a
That's
definitely
number
a
1,
thing.
by the way. That's number 1.
That
Emotional
was
withdrawal is the biggest one. Women, when a woman stops trying emotionally, that's often more serious than anger, which is why I said when she gets quiet.
Mhm,
What it looks like, she stops sharing her thoughts, conversations become surface,
mhm.
and she no longer seeks comfort from you. That's a big one.
That's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem. And what's hard is we already know this, men are not raised to have emotional language. They're not raised to, like you already talked about, like, kind of paying attention to in that realm, talk about that realm, move in that way. And yet that's the number one thing women want is emotional connection. So
Yeah,
there's already a discrepancy right now until more generations start, mothers and fathers start training their boys to be more emotionally aware and to learn more language. There might always be a discrepancy a bit as men and women are different, and that's great. But I think that like when it comes to connection, most men, like, that's the one person that they do show vulnerability to,
very true.
typically, is their partner. And so men want that connection. They want to have a safe space. But, like, same with women, if they're not getting it from that partner, then they're going to
But
go to their
I
girlfriends.
but
They're going to go safer.
I've heard a lot of men say, "Well, I'm here. I'm with her."
Mhm, mhm.
And she'll say, "We're sitting on the couch watching a movie." And he's like, "But that feels comfortable for me." That's what they want, to sit there with you. Or my personal unfavorite is watching someone play a video game is not fun for me. I will say that to my family. They'll be like, "Mom, look." And I'm watching and I do participate and I like learn about the video game or whatever. But I just want them to know, again, I want credit. It's not fun for me to watch you play a video game.
Mhm.
It's I'm
I mean,
not trying
it's
to be mean, but it's okay,
right.
like we watch men play football, we watch men play soccer, we watch men play basketball, we watch men play video games. Like that's not always fun for the person just sitting there watching it.
Right, so it might be meeting the emotional connection for the man, but for the woman, she's like, "Well, I need you to, let's have a picnic at the park." And he's like, "A picnic at the park." Like, we need our stuff that makes us feel emotionally connected. They're
Yeah.
not gonna be the same. I don't think we have to make
I
them the
don't,
same,
I don't, I don't. And
but
I'm not against
yeah,
video games. I'm just saying I think that
yeah,
the assumption is that if it's fun for one person, then it's fun for the other person. Or why isn't it fun for you? Or what's wrong with you that this isn't fun for you? But it could not be
yeah,
that. We just need to
yeah,
go back and forth.
yep.
Repeated complaints and then silence.
Silence is never good. I think
Yeah. Yeah. It's not.
they're digging their heels in at
It
that
doesn't
point.
mean it's okay. Everything, it doesn't mean everything's okay.
Mhm. Well, and I think maybe, we look at the internal things going on, let's say in a man, when women we're starting to show signs of things, do they move outside the home more in the sense of like work harder, do this more, provide more, like be successful at work because at home it's edgy. At home it's a little stressful. So I'm just kind of not that again, that kind of goes into the avoidance piece too of at what point do we address the elephant in the room? Because you have to wait until you go to divorce court. Like we could address these things
Little by
earlier,
little.
you
Yeah.
know?
That's why it has to go back to what are your I always
Non-negotiable.
think of a rudder. I always think of a rudder in a boat because we sail and we have sailed, but it just takes like a little tiny turn in the rudder and the boat's going to go in a totally different
Mhm.
direction. And I really feel like relationships are the same where it's just a little adjustment.
Mhm.
Um like that's why I think the podcast is valuable and that's why I like the topic of red flags is because um if you know that when most women stop arguing and just go silent, that something's wrong, then there's not something wrong with your partner. It's not her who's being a terrible person. It's,
Mhm.
oh, wait, this happens common. You
Here,
know,
there's something here too.
it's
That
relational, it's the
yes.
relationship.
Yes.
And a little tiny adjustment can make a
Just
big
that
difference.
perspective shift that you're saying, just going from like, she's pissed,
If you
it
never cook a meal and she cooks all the meals, I know that a lot of women, I know that the trad wife thing is big, and I know a lot of women like to cook. But if you were to come and cook a meal for her once a week
yeah.
or once a month, that would be impressive. That would be impressive. Or how about this one? If you said, my husband cooks all the time, so I'm not talking about my husband. I just know that I've heard that a lot. If
Mhm.
you said, like, if you have young children, this is like the biggest way to have sex with your wife. If you have young children and you said, "No, honey, you sleep in. I got this." That would be very impressive.
Mhm.
That's a
This is what's
big
hard.
thing.
This is what's hard. This is why I kinda snickered, is because why is it impressive when they come and cook once a month? Are you kidding me? It's impressive that we come home every day after working all day and cook every day. That's freaking impressive. Like,
So the reason why I'm saying it's impressive, and I'm glad that you said that, is because it's such a shocker if you're not doing it. Now, if you're
yeah,
cooking on the regular basis, then that's not the thing. There might be
okay.
something
I hear
else.
you.
That's what I mean. Like for me, I think something that I would love, and I hope my husband's listening to this podcast. He probably isn't because he listens to political podcasts. But if he was listening to this podcast, like if my husband was like, I just filled up your gas tank, your car is clean, and got it washed. Like that
Mhm.
is a thing that I like hate going to the gas station. and I hate having to run my car through the car wash or wash my car. So that to me is what I need.
Does he know that?
No, I haven't told him, so
Okay, so
he has
that's
to
a
listen to
point
the
right
podcast.
here. This is a point right here, is we have these fantasies in our mind that we want our partners to do, and they're disappointing us on the regular, and they don't even know what they are.
That's a red flag. Am I a red flag? Oh my God.
But it's true. It's
It's
kinda like,
true.
"I wish he would do this and this for a date." He has no idea. He has no idea that that's what you want,
The one
right?
I hear a lot is, I wish he would plan something. I do all the planning. And I think
Yes.
that that's so
That's layered
dangerous.
because
That's
that's
layered because
into
he's afraid. What if he takes you to like the zoo
yes,
and you hated the zoo,
yes.
or you're
You're gonna
against
criticize
animal
you.
cruelty? Then you're gonna like,
Yes. Yes. It's a risk of them disappointing you. And they've done it before at some point because they did it in the beginning. That's how they got you. And then somewhere along the way, you started saying, no, I don't really like that. And no, let me do it. And then you took it over. That's what we do. I do too. And then we're like, you never plan anything. You don't care.
yeah.
I do all the work. Yeah.
Lack of
Yeah.
humor. Don't you think that's a red flag? If there's lack of humor.
I guess I'm when you say humor, I think more of playfulness. I think when we lose
That's
the
that's what
playfulness
I
with
mean.
our
Yeah.
partner, because I'm not really necessarily funny, but I think that the
You're
banter
so
and the little
funny.
spitfire part that, like, you whack him in the kitchen with the towel, like, you can be a little when we lose that, that is something to pay attention to, because
It
that's the
is.
lightheartedness. That's like it's too intense and serious and heavy, you know?
Oops. She starts building a life without you. That's a red
Yes. And I think that
flag. Wah,
happens and I think that starts with the emotional part. We start going to our friends more and stop sharing with our partner because our friends give us the response and, the empathy and are there. We start creating things outside the home to do to satisfy us. I totally did that because this relationship's not meeting me and I can't actually leave. That was my mindset. So I got to just figure out ways to help myself, right? But then you start growing as a human. You start changing, your perspective widens. And there becomes this more and more divide. If you're not inviting them in your process and them growing with you, right? Then you just it's just this happens, this slow chasm.
chasm. Chasm, like the Grand Canyon. And then
Yeah.
you're acting in ways that you would not act. You brought something up. I don't remember if it was the last podcast or this one, but it made me think about like how we do things that we wouldn't normally do, like in separation or a divorce.
Mhm.
But I think it's because it puts us in, I think our like partner that we divorce, or like our spouse, or anything that's big. Like, I know you went through when your dad passed away. We went through like with our kids' diagnosis. Um, Emotionally, because you typically live with your partner, emotionally, they see you in a way that you don't want any human to ever have seen you.
Sure.
Like going through the grief of infertility, or the loss of a parent, or all this stuff exposes you to your partner, and then it's very intimate. It's very intimate that they
Yeah.
see you. I remember the first time my husband broke down in public because of my son's autism, and I was fine with it, but I thought, I wonder how he feels about me seeing that and everyone seeing that. And does it make him feel too exposed or too vulnerable? Or would it just be easier if he just like found somebody else who only saw him in this like knight in shining armor light and didn't see him as human? So I
Mhm.
think that's the one thing I do want to mention about relationships and why it's in a red flag topic is like, I think that it's part of intimacy to see each other in these situations. And I mean, everybody wants like a comeback story. So I don't think it's too late. I think you can recognize red flags and make the little changes, and
Absolutely.
things could go in a completely different direction.
Yeah, like, be willing to reflect on the issue, be willing to circle back regarding something you saw and check in. Take responsibility for stuff that you've said or done, you know? Be willing to have behavioral change. I mean, this is the thing, it can't just be
Behavioral change, yeah.
nobody
And
believes each other at this point. You've hurt each other too much, the flag's too big. It's like, you gotta show that, like, you're gonna take that flag and it's gonna be put in the trash, and I'm not gonna behave in those ways anymore.
yeah, and it's not too late. It really isn't too late, because here's the alternative. You you I think we think sometimes that, like the example I brought up, like, this new person won't have seen me in those ways,
Mhm.
but they also don't really know the whole you.
Yeah,
They only know a portion of who you are, and the person that you're with right now knows you inside and out.
yeah,
So, and you're gonna take yourself with you to the next relationship. That's the other part.
for sure.
You're gonna have to climb these mountains. Lisa
Mhm.
took me on a short run through UC Berkeley once, and I'm like, "Oh my god, there's no way through this campus but these mountains." We had to climb these stairs, and I was, like, falling apart, but there was no other way to get there.
Mhm. It's
So
all for the
she's
sake of a Oregon Duck football game,
it was a
people.
good
The
game.
sacrifices we do.
It's a beautiful stadium, the trees, but I couldn't breathe because we were walking so fast. PS, if you go to a game at UC Berkeley, give yourself time
To walk,
to
'cause the
walk.
parking is far.
Parking is far, it's like a 45-minute walk, even if you walk fast. That's it. That's us.
Oh, yeah.
That's the red flag about the UC Berkeley campus.
So don't ignore the red flags. They're red for a reason.
We didn't even have any orange flags, they were just all red.
All red, went right to red. Well, sometimes when you're at that point, they are all red. But yeah, I guess pay attention to the yellow ones before they get red.
Good luck out there. It's tough.
It is freaking tough. Relationships are the hardest thing. The world is falling apart. There's wars going everywhere. And what do clients want to talk about? Their relationship because it is life changing in their
World.
everyday. Yeah. Relationships are big and they take work. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Have a great day. Hey,
Yeah.
everybody.